Hello everyone. If you know anything about me personally, then I loved Halo. I remember going around a friend's house when I was very young and seeing this game on his TV. It was Halo 2. I got into so much trouble because basically we stayed up all night playing online and split screen co-op. And it was just an incredible experience, and I still remember that night to this day. This small taster ignited a passion and love for the series that for the older Bungie titles specifically still exists today. From here I went to pre-order and play every single Halo release up until today. And today I'm going to be talking about, is Halo dead? Now, I've talked about my past with Halo, but sadly I'm now officially done with the franchise. After seeing the mismanagement of Xbox's flagship title and franchise, and the state it's now currently in, as well as its developer 343 Industries, I've decided to make this video to see how we got here, and if anything can be done to save one of my and the community's most iconic gaming franchises from dying out altogether. I want you to just sit there a second and think. If you're a Halo fan, this is going to hit more for you in general, but imagine if Halo died. Imagine if no more Halo games were made after Infinite. Imagine that world, and it's quite scary to think about because we've all grown up with Halo and it's always been a constant, it's always been there, and it's something that I have been, I've loved since I was a very small child, so to see it in the state it's currently now in is heartbreaking. So you most likely already know the story, but if not, let's recap. Microsoft unveiled Halo as a concept in 1999 during the Macworld Conference and Expo. Steve Jobs, the absolute mad lad himself, announced that Halo would release for Mac OS and Windows, and being developed by none other than Bungie, but little did anyone know how big this series would become. Halo Combat Evolved launched in 2001 as the first-person shooter that would be an exclusive for Microsoft's new entry into the console game, the original Xbox. Microsoft needed a hit as Sony and Nintendo were absolutely killing it, with warning signs already being there in the industry, as Sega, who were originally a console competitor with Nintendo, had just switched from being one of the biggest console brands to now going into third-party software titles, so Microsoft needed a hit. And to everyone's surprise, Halo Combat Evolved launched, and it was one of the fastest selling video games of all time and held the record at the time for the biggest entertainment launch in history, with $170 million in sales within the first 24 hours. With a compelling story, iconic brand new characters in gaming such as Master Chief and Cortana, and a multiplayer mode which took the world by storm. It's here we saw the birth of MLG tournaments, competitive modern gaming, online first-person shooters, some of the best first-person shooter multiplayer maps in history in my opinion. You think of Beaver Creek and Blood Gulch for example, popular machinimas and web series being developed such as Red vs Blue, and LAN parties as well as split screen from home. Nothing on this scale and like it had been done before. It was here where Bungie then cemented themselves into gaming history, and from here would create banger after banger of game releases. In 2004, Halo 2 then released and was developed extremely quickly by Bungie to meet demand of the original Halo, with excellent characters, story, gameplay and multiplayer now supported by Xbox Live, which went on to sell 2.4 million copies of the game, which again broke another record in the first 24 hours, which at the time was absolutely mental. Halo 2 was my first Halo, and I remember it still to this day. Going home, playing the multiplayer, replaying the campaign on harder difficulties, being scared of the Flood, and being introduced to iconic characters such as the Arbiter. It was just fantastic. And the music as well, how could I forget about the music? The theme music, especially with the metal guitar of Halo 2, and obviously the music and the ambience of the original Combat Evolved were fantastic. Then again, launching after Microsoft's new console, the Xbox 360, in Halo 3, which launched a similar critical fan and sales reception, with more iconic multiplayer maps, modes, and a campaign that was again spectacular. And I've got to be honest, Halo 3, in my opinion, graphically and, to do with music and multiplayer, still holds up to this day, and in my opinion, is one of the greatest video games of all time. Halo 3 went on again to beat Halo's sales records, becoming one of the best video game launches of all time, now introducing Forge mode where players could create their own custom games, modes and maps, and everything was looking up. I remember back in the day playing custom games on Forge with my friends, and it was fantastic. Also, you're a true OG if you grew up in those toxic game lobbies in classic Call of Duty and Halo, but Halo 3 especially, where people would just go into game chat and you'd either make friends with somebody or you'd have people just screaming at you. It was chaotic, but it was fun, and it's just something that sadly isn't really there in gaming anymore. It's from this point where things in our tale start to take a turn, however. Little did fans of the beloved Halo series know that everything was about to change forever. Bungie from this point would only develop 2 more titles in the mainline series, Halo 3 ODST, a spin-off title set during the events of Halo 2, using similar gameplay to Halo 3 whilst also introducing Firefight mode, which would become a fan favourite horde-like wave defense mode, as well as Halo Reach. I remember my original Xbox 360 just before Halo Reach breaking. It got a red ring of death and the tray became stuck in, as it were, with the original original launch model of the Xbox 360. So I and many others were excited to receive Halo Reach alongside the new 360 Slim. But Halo Reach is one of my favourite games of all time. I just remember playing it for absolutely hours, and I've got to be honest, I've probably got 1,000 hours logged in with it. Being a prequel to the original Halo, it felt different. It felt more impactful, emotional, a personal story of Noble Squad, and again including top tier multiplayer gameplay, a jaw-dropping campaign, Firefight was back, a brand new open world Forge mode which was spectacular. For the first time ever you could recreate classic Halo maps, and then Bungie would then add them into the game as actual multiplayer maps, and a brand new leveling up system and unlock system, which is, in my opinion, still the best that we've ever had in any Halo game, as well as many other features. But it's here where Bungie departed the series. You see, Bungie wanted to become an independent company. Since Microsoft owned Halo, Bungie had to give it up in order to achieve that goal. But it's not like Bungie wanted to give up Halo. They just had to choose between basically doing what they wanted and becoming an independent studio, or renew their contract with Microsoft to keep making Halo games. Bungie obviously went on to create Destiny, Destiny 2, and then Marathon at some point when that comes out, and eventually now they've had their own problems with management, obviously being purchased by Sony. You've heard it all over the news with the final shape being delayed, and Bungie are currently in a very weird state, with the higher-ups making promises from PlayStation and Sony that just haven't been fulfilled, and now people have been laid off, people that are veteran developers at Bungie that have been there since the Halo days. It's here now in our timeline where 343 Industries was created to continue the series. 343 Industries was now the main developer taking over from Bungie. 343 started off decently, strong enough with the release of Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary to celebrate 10 years of Halo. The game released to good quality and fan reception, with graphical upgrades and classic multiplayer maps added to Halo Reach as well. 343 also carried on the tail end of Halo Reach's updates by introducing new game modes and things like that would be continued into Halo 4 and 5. But in my opinion, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary was a good release. Again, it wasn't anything groundbreaking, and I really do like the fact that you can switch the graphics on the fly from the old and the new, and because at the end of the day, I'm more a fan of the older style of the original Xbox, just purely that I'm so nostalgic for the original Halo. So, in my opinion, it's really good. 343 even contracted certain Affinity, an independent studio, to help with the development of Halo 4 and Combat Evolved Anniversary. They started work on the game in early 2011, with certain Affinity working alongside Bungie and 343 Industries on producing multiplayer content for previous Halo titles, so it only made sense going forward. Halo 4 was then announced to the public and people were hyped. I remember watching that year's E3 trailer and exploding from overwhelming excitement. Halo 4 was to pick up from the ending of Halo 3 and hopefully carry on the torch for 343. But something felt off. Although Halo 4 did very well critically, selling and grossing $220 million in its first 24 hours of release alone, marking a new record for the series, Halo 4 was the most controversial entry yet. A mixed campaign whilst including very good personal scenes and stories with Master Chief and Cortana, very good acting performances across the board, and decent graphical quality for the tail end of the Xbox 360, everything was hated by the community that was added new to Halo 4. A multiplayer mode with fewer iconic and memorable multiplayer maps, introducing new elements to Halo such as kill streaks and custom class loadouts that have obviously been copied and inspired from Call of Duty, and bringing back the controversial armor abilities from Halo Reach. All this didn't sit well with the fanbase. Then the unthinkable happened. In 2014, Xbox and Microsoft announced a collection of Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, Halo 3, Halo 4 and Halo 2 Anniversary, which was made in a similar vein to the aforementioned Combat Evolved Anniversary game, and Halo 2 Anniversary was fantastic. It had brand new rendered cutscenes, new graphics on the Xbox One, and it just looked fantastic. The game seemed like a wet dream to Halo fans, with all 4 games being bootable from the same launcher, mixed campaign playlists, multiplayer fully remastered on the Xbox One's modern Xbox Live features and connections and parties, and inclusions of all the fan favourite modes and things like that. It just seemed like it was too good to be true. But here's where disaster struck. The Master Chief Collection launched in a terrible state. Frequent system software game crashes, latency and connection issues, save data being deleted at random for both campaign and your actual profile, random and incorrect account banning online from 343 and Microsoft in general with Xbox Live. You couldn't even contact friends easily over Xbox Live for the game. The UI was messy, confusing and very difficult to navigate. Joining parties was incredibly difficult, and matchmaking was a nightmare overall. If Halo 4 was the first chink in the armour for 343 Industries, then Halo the Master Chief Collection was the equivalent of getting your entire house bulldozed. 343 had to do major damage control here, with them offering Halo 3 ODST remastered for free as a consolation as part of the Master Chief Collection. But the damage was already done here, and it took them around 5 years to actually fix most of the issues with the game, and then even Halo Reach being added later on, with the collection even launching on PC as well as part of Xbox Game Pass. Now, if you thought all of that was bad, well, it's not even at the worst really. It's going to get even more juicy here on out. Halo 5 Guardians launched in 2015 and to this day is not only the worst and decisive Halo game, but it's the most controversial. It would take an hour-long video of its own to go over all of its issues and missteps, but to summarise, Halo 5 Guardians misled fans with a Hunt the Truth campaign that was teased in ODST's Master Chief Collection remaster. This marketing campaign completely misled players on what the story was going to be for the upcoming Halo release, teasing the new character, Spartan Locke, and the fact that Master Chief has gone AWOL and could be the villain alongside the Guardians and Cortana, with none of these scenes actually happening in-game, and the fact that you had to read about 10 million graphic novels, articles and different books and podcasts to actually understand what was going on in terms of the story and the build-up. All of this was outside media, and it just made Halo 5 Guardians a disaster. After Halo 4, 343 promised fans that they were going to be heard and that Halo 5 would basically launch with a better multiplayer mode, split screen, and a new campaign and story that harkened back to classic Halo, that introduced fan favourites from the Halo universe that hadn't even been seen in game yet. And for me, this was a step in the right direction, all of this marketing, because you sat there and you thought, wow, they're adding these characters from the novels, that's great, that's fantastic. But then Halo 5 released, and me and my best friend, the one who introduced me to the franchise, started out our traditional co-op campaign legendary run on split screen. However, we were met with no option for split screen co-op, which made it basically so that we had to play and take turns, which was very awkward at the time from what I remember. But Halo as a franchise, it made LAN and split screen parties popular in gaming in the first place. It revolutionised it. Now launching without split screen, it was madness. A once core feature and philosophy from Bungie developing Halo since its inception was now basically cut from the series in general, and it hasn't returned since, which is absolutely shocking. This was definitely the first sign that something had changed and that things weren't as they seemed in the background with 343 Industries. Halo 5 also introduced hated Spartan ability mechanics, again inspired from Call of Duty at the time, no split screen multiplayer after it was promised by 343 beforehand, a campaign that not only featured Master Chief, the main heart of the entire series, he was only in 3 out of the 15 missions in the campaign, which is absolutely shocking. No content from the Hunt the Truth, with the actual fight and the build up with Spartan Locke and Master Chief being very short, underwhelming, and it wasn't even in game, it was a cutscene they had their fight in, which was just an absolute joke. They made Cortana the main villain after humanising her and killing her off in 4, which angered everyone, and Halo 5 sort of departed from the series by having 4-player co-op, which sounds great in theory and in concept, but in actual execution it was awful. Take a look at this gameplay here from the campaign. And they didn't even launch Forge and Firefight mode until later, but one of the biggest crimes here was the Rec Pack system. These were essentially loot boxes where you could pay real money to gain new armor sets and items for the new Warzone mode, which quickly died off, and it was basically the replacement for Big Team Battle. Oh, and by the way, Big Team Battle wasn't even in the game at launch and for the most part of its development, and 343 even had the audacity to convey all of these changes and insulting Rec Pack system in an ad on YouTube, which was really insulting. Just take a look at this.
Wait, won't Rec Packs with special weapons break the exquisitely refined balance of arena multiplayer?
Secure your noise hole, soldier! Grown-ups are talking.
Damn it.
Halo 4 and Halo 5 even introduced a new design to characters, armour and past items in terms of a new art style, which was nowhere near as good as classic Bungie's Halo design, with some armour sets just looking downright ugly and over-designed. Like, take a look at some of these look horrendous. Now we're pretty much up to present day. 343 Industries now had a lot of ground to make up after Halo 5, and obviously their missteps with Halo 4 and the Master Chief Collection, with a brand new Xbox console coming on the way, and Halo's 20th anniversary, and the fact that they had to basically right past wrongs with Halo 4. Halo Infinite was announced and something had changed in general. The atmosphere had changed around the series. For the first time since probably Halo 4 in my opinion, I felt actual excitement for the series again. This trailer looked like the classic Halo we remember. The game was then later showcased at the Xbox Series X game reveal event during lockdown, with the early gameplay being met with a mixed reception and spawning absolutely tons of funny graphical low-res memes, because the graphics were absolutely dunked on during this gameplay demo. They looked flat, the lighting looked off, and it just looked underwhelming in general, because this was Xbox's brand new next-gen console. It was meant to be showcasing the future of gaming and the most powerful console of all time, and this is their flagship franchise, and they should have gone out swinging, but it was a miss. Halo Infinite then launched, but in an entirely unique way. You see, as modern gaming has steered more towards live services, so did Halo, as 343 announced that for the first time ever, the multiplayer would be free to play and would launch after the initial campaign. I remember here on the channel giving the game a positive review and even putting it in my top 5 games of 2021 list. It was one of these sort of first videos on this channel from what I remember, but what went wrong with Halo Infinite? Well, although Halo Infinite improved on Halo as a series with the inclusions of the grappling hook, which in my opinion should be a staple in every game going forward, a refined art style that looked more similar to classic Bungie era, and the lack of Spartan ops, Spartan abilities, and classic loadouts in terms of, mimicking Call of Duty, with more of an emphasis being put on classic gameplay from the Bungie era as well as art design. This was ticking all the boxes. This again felt like 343 were actually listening to the fanbase and what we have been begging for since probably Halo 4. However, Halo Infinite not only again didn't launch with split screen multiplayer and co-op after it was actually promised by 343, it launched as an open world campaign with a open world map and fast travel, which threw a lot of the older fans off. In my opinion, the open world was done decently, and I really enjoyed the campaign of Halo Infinite at the time. To be honest, it wasn't one of the better campaigns, but it was better than something like Halo 5. It was a step in the right direction in my opinion. But it also had a multiplayer mode plagued via microtransactions that were just downright silly and unwarranted and just really too expensive, with some of them being astronomical prices, and introducing obviously the Battle Pass. In my opinion though, Halo Infinite has actually done some things right with the Battle Pass. The fact that you can basically turn back like past seasons on or off, so you can earn XP, so they're not, basically that content's not gone forever. I think that's brill. But at the time there was also hints of a potential Battle Royale mode, as those were really popular at the time with like Apex, PUBG, Fortnite and Warzone. Also you had multiplayer mode rotation, meaning that some of the multiplayer modes and fan favourites such as Infection wouldn't always be playable and would basically come, every so often, weekly rotation, which was really frustrating. After launch, Halo Infinite's multiplayer saw a very steep drop-off on both console and PC, and the dev team at 343 just couldn't keep up with the live service model, with key updates taking much longer and being less impactful and meaningful, which means that fans just stopped playing after launch. They saw that basically they'd done everything that there was to do and just stopped playing. Not only that, but the series yet again had to keep delaying Forge mode and Firefight, and I've got to be honest, Firefight, I didn't even know this because I haven't played Infinite in years. It only launched a month ago as of making this video, which is really, really bizarre and is very telling. So in summary, I now return to the important question at the start of this video. Is Halo dead as a franchise? Well, yes and no. It is certainly dying, with player numbers being at an all-time low and nowhere near their all-time peak with games such as Halo 3, Halo Reach, and even the Master Chief Collection at launch and Halo Infinite at launch, for example, and fans concerned about the franchise, with key members of 343 having left in the past 5 years, some even actually returned from Bungie to 343 and that have now left again. There were internal struggles with the studio that have been ongoing since Halo 4 and Halo 5, incredible and bizarre mismanagement from both Microsoft and 343, massive studio layoffs, and hated studio heads and developers that are still employed and disliked by the entire community. Now with this point, I don't mean the developers in the trenches. I actually had a friend who worked and was contracted by 343 working on Halo Infinite, and they're an incredible artist and person in general, and they told me that it was a very stressful experience and they weren't paid basically what they were owed and things like that, but I can't get into it because, that's their story to tell. But in terms of Halo Infinite's development, a lot of it was contracted, meaning that there wasn't a key focus and it was just all over the place, which led to the disaster of the ongoing live service that is Halo Infinite. But for me, it goes much further than all of what I've talked through the entire video so far. Nintendo have Pokemon The Legend of Zelda and Super Mario. Mario is their flagship title. PlayStation have titles such as Uncharted, God of War, Horizon, Ratchet & Clank, etc. These companies know how much these flagship franchises mean for their company, and they are very protected of them. So why aren't Microsoft the same and very protective with Halo? It doesn't seem that way. Halo is their flagship series, and without Halo, Xbox wouldn't be where it is today and may not even be there at all. Halo means so much to me personally, as I've gone over in this video, and so many other people. And it absolutely breaks my heart to see this series dragged through the mud for about 12 years straight. Sure, we've had some ups during the 343 era, but the series is nowhere near where it should be, and I don't think it will be anywhere near its heights again, because people have been burnt too many times. You had Halo 4, the Master Chief Collection, Halo 5 and Halo Infinite. They can't keep doing this every 5 years or so. It's just not good for business, and they've absolutely destroyed all credibility and trust with the overall Halo fanbase. I think Microsoft should give the reins of Halo over to another studio. 343, in my opinion, have proven with the Master Chief Collection, Halo 4, Halo 5 and Infinite's post-development and pre-development and incredible poor mismanagement. I'd argue and say that Halo is the biggest fumble and mismanagement of a AAA studio and gaming franchise. 343 have proven that they aren't capable of controlling and developing something as big as Halo, and I only hope the series goes up from here, but from my perspective I can't see that happening anytime soon. Now, since the fallout of Halo Infinite and everything that's happened at 343 in terms of massive layoffs and things like that, the studio has had to make key management changes and move-arounds and things like that. And I think without massive change of philosophy and design, Halo is doomed at 343, and I do think it should go to another studio. I don't know how Microsoft can justify 343 continuing to make Halo. Sure, Halo 4, 5 and Infinite all sold well, but in terms of the reception with the fans, which in my opinion is kind of more important in the long run, all three games have failed. Heck, even the Master Chief Collection. It took 343 around 5 or 6 years to build that goodwill back up. And each time they keep building this goodwill back up, and then it just comes crumbling down as soon as the new game launches and releases. And there's just things that 343 just haven't done. For example, the Arbiter was completely missing in terms of gameplay from both Halo 5 and Infinite. Sure, he was in the campaign for 5, but it was in form of a cameo. But as a hardcore Halo fan, I really do miss the days of Halo 3, Halo Reach and Halo 2. And yeah, it's heartbreaking for me to go on this long in this video about a series which I love that has just been dragged through the mud for far too long. And I'm just hoping that things get better, but I just can't see that they will. Thank you so much for watching, and for more gaming content and Halo content in the future, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.